All right, welcome into another edition of the 2025 MLB Draft Show. I got another good one here. A West Coast flavor is what I like to do. University of Arizona's own Brendan Summerhill. Brendan, what's going on, dude?
How are we doing? How are we doing? Good to be
Life
on.
is good. Yeah, life is good. Excited to chat with you a little bit. I was telling you before the show. Last time we really talked was Super 60 in high school, so it's certainly been a minute. Brendan, why don't you have an opportunity here? Introduce yourself to the viewers, the listeners. Who is Brendan Summerhill on the field, and then more importantly, off the field, man? Like, what makes you tick? Passions, hobbies, your spare time. How do you like to spend it?
For sure. So Brendan Summerhill, obviously, I'm outfielder from Chicago, Illinois, born and raised. I rep it super proud. Um, Made the trip out to Arizona and fell in love with it. On the field, pretty intense. I love to win. I try to be a spark all the time and whatever inning it may be. Off the field, huge football fan. Football and hockey, honestly, those are like the two big sports I watch the most. College football, obviously, love the Arizona Wildcats, but I bleed scarlet and gray for, the Ohio State Buckeyes. Both my parents went there. And being from Chicago, huge Bears fan, so super excited for that and their future. We got Caleb Williams on the Bears, we got Connor Bedard on the Blackhawks. So hopefully the future's bright in Chicago sports. I'll always be a fan no matter where I'm at. But yeah, what else off the field? Man, I like to fish. Fishing's fun when I can get out there. It can be a challenge sometimes living in a city, but
Yeah.
me and my one of my best friends in high school, we used to walk to this pond by our house and just go bass fishing all the time. So that was super fun.
How's the
But yeah,
fishing in Arizona?
there is none. There's no
Yeah.
fish, there's no water, so can't catch any fish.
No,
No, but
that's
it's
going to be tough.
yeah, yeah.
Well, let's hit on that first mark that you said, Chicago to Tucson.
hmm
I gotta know, man, like how does that happen? And that's nothing against, of course, that's nothing against Tucson. Arizona is a great school. I've visited a couple of times for football games, but I'm just curious from a recruiting standpoint, how does one make that trip?
So it was recruiting was weird for me because I kind of got recruited during COVID,
Hmm.
and it was that whole like online Zoom thing. Like this was what recruiting looked like. It
Right.
was Zoom calls, and I actually had a pretty good experience. So I committed Kentucky my sophomore year.
Okay.
And I was pretty set on going there actually. I was locked in, and then you know I but I didn't know much. I didn't know what I was looking for at 16. And then I feel like I kind of matured a little bit, grew up, realized okay, look, maybe I needed to think this through a little more. Nothing against Kentucky or anything they got going on there. Obviously, it's a great program. They're doing super well. Um, and it like always been nothing but respect for those guys. But once I talked to Coach Chip out here and Coach Tripp, and obviously the weather and the tradition of Arizona baseball, they had just been in Omaha, and then
Yeah.
Coach Johnson left for LSU. I decommitted from Kentucky, got on the phone with these guys. It was a no-brainer for me, honestly. Like after talking to the coaches here, you could just tell they do it differently, and I think there's not one thing about this program that I can say negative because it is like top to bottom, coaches, players, culture, facilities, I mean, weather, fan base, all of it. It's 10 out of 10. And, obviously it's not we're not in the SEC, but I think a lot of people, sometimes in high school get confused by that is like, oh, it's SEC, it's SEC, you got to go to the SEC, but being committed to an SEC school, I realized like there's a lot of baseball outside of the SEC, a lot of good
Yeah.
baseball outside of the
Yeah.
SEC.
No doubt. You represent a cold weather bat. I'm a big fan of cold weather bats because you guys got to find a way to develop in a barracks during the winter when everyone else in Florida and Texas and California are playing, 11 months out of the year. I'm just curious, as a guy that was recruited all over the country, was there something was getting into a warm weather climate something you were specifically looking for? Was that on your checklist?
I guess I guess it maybe wasn't, but like talked to Arizona and I was committed to Kentucky. Kentucky's not a warm climate place.
Yeah.
It's Midwest weather, honestly. And coming out here, I didn't realize how big of an impact that really was being from the Midwest. You don't because you train inside, that's all you know. It's gritty, it's grimy, like you got and that's all you know. So coming out here actually I didn't really realize how big of a blessing, good weather is. But
Mhm.
if I could do it again, like, yeah, that would have been one of the big things I looked for is being at a place where I can be outside every single day of the year.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so let's talk about you on the field because listen, this is a weird draft class, and I don't want to look too far ahead because Arizona's got a big year ahead of them on the college baseball slate. But this is a weird year for the draft in that there aren't a ton of players on the college side that project up the middle of the field. And you kind of do. You've got some center field tools. So I'm curious, the bat is really good. The glove is really good. Is there a tool in your toolbox that you like the most, that you have the most fun with?
Yeah, see, I get if when people ask me that question, I say it's one of two things. It's either my speed or my hit tool.
Hmm.
Because my our pitching coach here, Coach Vance, he's a wizard. Him and Coach John Duran, like complete wizards. Like, I mean, best pitching coaches in the country for sure. And we'll be in inter squads and he'll just be throwing me all these like curveballs, heaters, whatever it is. I'm like fouling him off, fouling him off, fouling him off. Whether he strikes me out or I get a hit or it's a walk, like there's always something like a little bit said, like, oh, it took this many pitches this time, or I know it annoys him that I just foul pitches off and foul pitches off. So that's kind of why I like that one. And obviously, I love just running. Running's fun. I like going to run balls down in the outfield. I like stealing bases. So, speed is obviously um honestly a fairly new part of my game,
Hmm.
realizing like the speed. I didn't realize how fast I really was until I've kind of last year or maybe when I got to college, but and how much speed can really change a game. And I'm still learning how to use it that way and perfect it. But yeah, I think it's a really fun one.
That's something I noticed in your film is it seems to me your jumps on stolen base attempts, and there wasn't a ton of them. Like it hasn't been like you said, it hasn't been a huge part of your game yet, but they're getting better. It seems as though your instincts just to playing the game of baseball, at least at a higher level, the collegiate level, seem to be coming along pretty quick. I'm curious, talking to your coaches and knowing your game a little bit more, is the stolen base going to be a bigger part of the Brendan Summerhill package in 2025?
I hope for it to be like that's the plan is for it to be obviously like if I'm stealing at a 50% clip or success at a
We don't
50
want
I'm
that.
won't be running but I think I've been doing a couple things. I'm trying different things out on the bases and I think it's really helped me get good jumps. A big base, I think for, maybe us this year is going to be second to third, which we
Okay.
really were honestly atrocious at last year. And so that'll be a big point of emphasis. And the whole team this year is fast. Like we're very fast. So I think it's going to be like it's not just going to be, oh, this guy and this guy are a threat to steal. Like 1 through 9, we everyone should be a threat to go. Um, which is going to make our offense really dynamic, I think.
Okay. Now you plan to probably hit at the top of the lineup, second or third. I would venture to say maybe I maybe lead off, but the reason I say the meat of the order there is you're 6'3", you're 205, 210 pounds. Maybe you've gotten bigger than that now. I'm just curious. You had a career high in homers at 8 last year, and the batted ball data. I get into the weeds big time. Just jumped and jumped and jumped as the season went on. And then at Wareham, it got even better with a wooden bat. I'm just curious, do you see game power being something that you unlock this year? Or are you totally good with like, hey, I'm going to spray the ball around, I'm going to put the game in motion? Like, how do you profile yourself from a 10,000-foot view?
For sure. So that's kind of what you hit on, like what you just said. Like weight room's the biggest thing, I think, for this off season. I want to keep the hit too. I don't really want to change much because
Hmm.
I think you know, being a good hitter is super important. Obviously, the power is important. Hitting home runs, everyone loves home runs. So, um, hitting homers is important. And that's a huge way to impact a game. But I really do think that'll come if I just keep getting stronger, keep on the progression that I see myself on. But yeah, if I end up hitting 20 homers this year, great. Like there's no I don't think there's really necessarily a set number or set, oh yeah, I need to hit this many home runs, but I do think it'll happen organically, especially what I hear, Big 12 parks are easier to hit in than Pac-12 parks, so hopefully hopefully that stays true. And then yeah, we'll see what happens for sure.
Yeah, yeah, weather permitting, right?
Mhm.
Um, you got a little bit of Garrett Mitchell in you. You remember Garrett Mitchell at
Yeah.
UCLA, the
Mhm.
Brewers? There's a little bit of that in you, but that's more of a sidebar. I guess on that same vein, do you have a guy that you've looked up to or watched growing up that you're like, there's a little bit, I can see myself in that player a little bit.
I'm a big fan of Christian Yelich
Okay,
because like he's just a very dynamic player. He can hit homers, he can steal some bases, he can play some really good defense. And that's, all facets of the game. And I think that's kind of what I pride myself on is, I want to be not just like a great hitter, but I do want to be a great defender, great base runner, great teammate, great,
sure.
it doesn't stop, So I think someone like him is someone I really actually maybe not model like my swing but I think that's just someone I model my game after. Very he's a and he's I think he's a good leader, very level-headed. So I think that's someone I've always looked at and been like, wow, like that's a player I want to be like. But if I had a favorite player, just to choose who I enjoy watching the game the most, it'd probably be Ronald Acuna.
Okay.
Um, that guy or Aaron Judge, just because he can he can literally hit the ball over the fence at any point. Um, but yeah, those two guys for sure.
I dig it. I dig
Yeah.
it. One last question, then I'll get to some curveballs out of left field for you.
Okay.
Adversity. I think it's something that every player needs to go through at some point. And I'm just curious for you, has there been an injury or a slump or something, a bout of adversity that you've had to fight through in order to get to where you are today?
Um, that's a great question. So
And listen, hey, for some guys,
honestly,
they
I
don't
think
reach it until AAA. You know what I mean?
I've definitely slumped. I've had my like over 20s. I've had my at UW last year. Actually, I think I went. Gosh, I don't even remember, but I know I didn't get a hit and I didn't get on base till like I grounded into a fielder's choice in my fifth at bat on Sunday. Um, and the
Rain will
way I
do that.
responded to that was that's when I kind of knew I hadn't failed yet, really. I hadn't failed over like, a stretch yet. And I guess I was very fortunate because a lot of hitters do struggle, and I honestly hadn't yet. And that's I get that's definitely also lucky, because baseball is such a game of luck. But once I hit that, and it was getting towards the end of the year, and obviously we had a lot more baseball to be played. We were ranked high. We were playing really good baseball. So, and I felt like I was a big part of the team's offensive success. So I knew I needed to kind of pick it up if we were going to continue to win. And I talked to our pitching coach, Coach Vance, and he's like, the ability to forget is one that is going to like serve you in so many ways in life and in baseball, and just being able to forget things, flush things, and move on. And um, I think talking to Coach Vance was huge for me, and he really helped me out. And I think I then went over in the midweek. I'm not sure. I think so.
Hmm.
But then we practiced Wednesday, Thursday, got out of the slump first at bat Friday against Stanford, and then it felt like the weight had just come off my shoulders, and then that's when I realized Coach Vance was right. Like I should have been able to forget about that before it happened. I think that was big for me to realize, okay, like I gotta forget before it even happens, whether
Yeah.
it's good or bad, that the ability to forget is the most important.
You got any superstitions on the field?
Mm. I just like I have like little weird routines, like
Yeah.
pre-pitch. I'll, take a deep breath during the national anthem. I am I try to take 10 deep breaths for like the whole anthem. And that's what I started that in the Cape. And
Okay.
it really just like helped the heart rate and everything just slowed down. Um, but I guess I'd call those superstitions because I can't play without doing those things.
I
Like,
think that's definitely a
mhm.
superstition for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so for
no
sure.
doubt. All right, man. I'm going to hit you with three questions. These are out of left field, put you on the spot a little bit, the hot seat.
Sweet.
Let's say you play for 20 more years, 2 decades. All right. You got to choose one walk-up song and you can never change it. What are you comfortable rocking until the
Wow.
year 2045?
Gosh. So this past year was Pimp by 50 Cent. And it
Oh,
was it
okay.
was kind of a hit. Like I got a lot of compliments on it. I don't know if I could do that for the rest of my life though.
I was gonna say, dude, let's
That,
say
that's a
you're
that's a big
42.
commit. That's
I
a
know,
big
like
commitment.
42, you got a 15-year-old daughter and you're going out there to
Yeah, seriously.
PIMP.
Um, Maybe Sweet Home Chicago by the Blues Brothers.
Okay, that's
I,
timeless.
I think that yeah, that's a song I know. That's a song my dad knows. So his parents know it. So it's my city. So
Yeah,
there's nothing I love more than the city of Chicago.
yeah, yeah. Okay. How about teammates? I'll give you Wareham too. Wareham, Arizona. Who's the one guy you would not let date your sister?
Oh, wow. God. Um, Andrew Kane. Andrew Kane.
Really?
Sophomore infielder at the University of Arizona.
Okay.
But I mean, there no one's that bad that I would never let them date my daughter. But if I had to say, I'm going Andrew Kane.
Okay.
Andrew Kane.
I'll do one more and we'll see if it's always the shortstop on the team. So let's see if you buck the trend. The whole team goes out to a nice restaurant, right? You guys are going out to a steakhouse. Who's the one guy at U of A you would not let order for the team? Who is Mr. PB&J, Mr. Chicken Nuggets? Who's Mr. Generic at the restaurant?
It could be I think it's our shortstop.
It's always the
I think it's our
shortstop.
shortstop.
It's always the
I
shortstop. That's
think
four
it's the
episodes in a row,
shortstop.
dude.
It, you got to let me think about it though, because we have a lot of new guys this year.
Okay.
So, but I'm definitely not letting our shortstop order for me. He's not ordering for me
So are we
because
talking are we
he's
talking
ordering
last
me because
we
he's
talking
definitely
last year's
ordering
shortstop?
me
We talking
some
Nick McClary?
Mason White.
Mason White.
Definitely
Okay.
ordering some chicken nuggets or some pasta or steak cooked like well done.
Oh no.
Yeah,
You
so
crossed a line.
uh-huh. Or at least I think I could be totally wrong, but
You know, Mason White is another pretty big player
uh,
this season, and there's a chance that he's going to be on this show if things go right in the spring.
stud.
I'm going to bring it back. I'm going to I'm
Yeah,
going to
he might
I'm going
say
to
the
grill
same
him
thing.
about you.
He might say the same thing.
He probably will. A little bit of vengeance.
Of
I
course.
like it. Well, hey, listen, Brendan, I'm a huge fan of your game, huge fan of your swing. I think more players need to just lock in to hit first. The power will come because I think it's the foundation of an offensive game. So keep doing your thing, man. Excited to watch what you Bearcats have going on in 2025, and good luck.
Yeah, thank you so much.